Have you ever felt burdened by society's expectations, or found yourself tangled in a web of worries about things beyond your control? If so, you're certainly not alone. Many of us find ourselves trapped in the cycle of caring too much about things that ultimately may not matter as much as we think. But what if there was a way to break free from this cycle? What if you could navigate life with more serenity and clarity? In this video, we'll explore how adopting Stoic principles can help you achieve just that. Let's discover how to live a happier life by learning the art of not caring about the unnecessary. This approach to not caring isn't about being indifferent or ignoring others. Instead, it's about focusing our attention and care on what really matters, things within our control, and letting go of everything else. In this video, we'll explore the insights from various philosophies and philosophers who have navigated this path before us, leaving markers for us to follow. From the calm mindfulness of Buddhist philosophy to the empowering self-sufficiency of Stoicism, from Epicurus's hedonic calculus to the existential courage of Søren Kierkegaard, and from the life-affirming principles of Nietzsche to the individualistic essence of existentialism, this isn't just an academic exercise. We'll also discuss practical examples and real-world applications, showing how these philosophies have helped real people live happier, less anxious, and more fulfilling lives by not caring in the right way. But what do we mean by not caring in a philosophical sense? It doesn't imply complete detachment or a lack of concern. Instead, it's about freeing ourselves from societal pressures, fears of the unknown, worries about uncontrollables, and anxiety over others' judgments. The art of not caring teaches us to focus our energy on our actions, responses, and attitudes instead of wasting mental and emotional energy on things outside our control. It's about recognizing our limits and deciding what truly deserves our care, effort, and passion. It's about learning to accept life's impermanence and still finding joy in the present moment. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by life's burdens, wish to escape anxieties that hold you back, or are simply curious about different philosophical takes on happiness, you're in the right place. By the end of this journey, we hope to equip you with a new outlook on navigating life's ups and downs with grace, equanimity, and a serene mind. Join us as we explore the liberating world of not caring, embark on a philosophical quest for self-discovery, and learn the art of letting go to lead a happier, more satisfying life. As we begin this exploration, it's crucial to first understand the fundamental connection between philosophy and happiness. Philosophy at its core is the love of wisdom. It involves probing deep into essential questions about existence, reality, knowledge, values, reason, and notably, happiness. Throughout history, philosophers from various cultures have pondered over what happiness truly is and how it can be attained. From the ancient Greeks to contemporary thinkers, the pursuit of understanding happiness has remained central to philosophical inquiry. Happiness might seem like a straightforward and universal concept initially, but a deeper investigation reveals its complex, multidimensional nature, deeply rooted in subjective experiences, cultural backgrounds, and societal norms. However, shifting our focus from a personal view to the broader perspective of philosophy allows us to see happiness in a more expanded and profound way. So, how do different philosophical schools perceive happiness? Starting with the ancient Greeks, for Aristotle, one of history's most influential philosophers, happiness was not a fleeting emotion or temporary joy. He introduced the idea of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or a well-lived life. For Aristotle, happiness meant living a life rich in virtue and wisdom, fulfilling one's potential, and contributing to society. It was about nurturing a deep inner life rather than merely seeking pleasure. In contrast, the philosopher Epicurus viewed happiness as the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. However, Epicurean philosophy does not advocate for indulgent hedonism. Instead, Epicurus emphasized simple, natural pleasures like friendship, intellectual pursuits, and peace of mind. Moving forward to the 17th and 18th centuries during the Age of Enlightenment, we meet utilitarian philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. They argued that happiness is about maximizing pleasure for the greatest number of people, laying the foundation for their moral and ethical theories. In the 19th century, Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher, presented a less optimistic view. He saw life as inherently filled with suffering and posited that happiness is merely the absence of suffering. Schopenhauer's philosophy advocates reducing desires to minimize disappointment and pain, offering a unique twist on our understanding of happiness. Then, in the 20th century, we encounter existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who believed that life inherently lacks meaning, and it is up to each individual to create their own purpose and define their own happiness. They challenged societal norms and promoted authenticity and personal freedom. We also cannot overlook the Eastern philosophical traditions like Buddhism, which teaches that happiness is achieved through the elimination of desire and attachment, leading to a state of inner peace and enlightenment. This rich tapestry of philosophical thought shows that happiness is not a one-size-fits-all concept. It is deeply personal and intricately linked to our values, choices, and understanding of the world. Different philosophies provide varied pathways to happiness, whether through virtue, pleasure, the absence of pain, personal freedom, or spiritual enlightenment. From these diverse philosophical perspectives, it's clear that happiness is not a universal solution. It's deeply personal and linked closely with our values, choices, and understanding of the world. Different philosophical ideas suggest various ways to achieve happiness, such as through virtue, pleasure, avoiding pain, personal freedom, or spiritual enlightenment. In our discussion today on the art of not caring, we'll explore how detaching from certain concerns can align with these varied philosophical views on happiness. It's about finding a balanced and thoughtful way to decide what's important to us, which can lead to a fulfilling and content life. Philosophy doesn't just give us answers, but helps us to ask the right questions. As we dive deeper into the art of not caring, we should keep an open mind, challenge our preconceptions, and let these diverse philosophical teachings enrich our understanding of happiness. We are embarking on an intriguing journey, drawing from the wisdom of well-known philosophers and their deep insights into happiness. Now, let's focus on Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy that has recently become popular again for its practical wisdom on living well. Stoicism, which began in Athens with Zeno of Citium around the early 3rd century BC, was later shaped by notable philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, whose ideas are still relevant today. Stoicism is all about personal ethics, highlighting virtue, reason, and self-discipline. It teaches that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we react. This philosophy urges us to concentrate on what we can influence and to let go of what we can't, providing a strong basis for learning the art of not caring. This idea is illustrated through the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, who went from slave to philosopher, clearly described this in his handbook, the Enchiridion, explaining that some things are within our control, like our opinions and desires, while others, like our reputation or possessions, are not. This distinction teaches us to focus our time, energy, and emotions on aspects of our life that we can influence, while being indifferent to the rest. This approach isn't about neglecting responsibilities, but about discerning what truly matters and deserves our attention. The essence of Stoicism and the art of not caring can be seen in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Despite his immense power and influence as a Roman emperor, his writings reflect a belief in the temporary nature of external achievements. He emphasized that a happy life requires very little beyond our own mindset. Similarly, Seneca, another influential Stoic philosopher, highlighted that true happiness involves remaining unaffected by external changes, focusing instead on enjoying the present and being content with what we have. By following Stoic principles, we learn to detach from the ever-changing aspects of life and instead focus on developing our character, wisdom, and virtue. We find contentment in what we have and maintain peace with the world. The Stoic approach to not caring isn't about indifference to everything. It's about knowing where to direct our care and attention for a tranquil and fulfilling life. Now, let's transition from Stoic ideas to the teachings of Epicurus. Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher who established the philosophy known as Epicureanism, presents a different perspective on not overly caring. Contrary to popular belief, Epicureanism isn't about seeking physical pleasures or living lavishly. Instead, it emphasizes understanding pleasure and desire and pursuing a life of tranquility, freedom, and meaningful friendships. Epicurus believed that pleasure is the ultimate goal of life, but he also pointed out that not all pleasures should be sought after. He distinguished between kinetic pleasures, which come from satisfying a desire, and katastematic pleasures, which represent a state of contentment, free from pain and desire. According to him, the ideal life is one that maintains a state of katastematic pleasure, enjoying simple joys without being driven by constant desires. A key part of Epicureanism, particularly relevant to the art of not caring, is its view on societal expectations and material desires. Epicurus advocated for a simple life, away from the distractions of Athenian society. He argued that many desires, like those for wealth, fame, or power, are instilled by society and are not essential. These desires, he suggested, often lead to more pain than pleasure, as they are endless and keep us in a state of constant wanting. Epicurus famously stated, "If you wish to make a man happy, add not to his riches, but take away from his desires." This wisdom encourages us to not care about chasing material wealth or societal status, and to instead focus on inner tranquility and building meaningful relationships. Another interesting aspect of Epicureanism is Epicurus' perspective on fear, especially the fear of death. He believed that death should not be feared because it is inconsequential to us. When we exist, death does not, and vice versa. By overcoming the fear of death, Epicurus encourages us to live more freely and joyfully in the present moment. So, how can these principles lead to a happier life? By understanding our desires, distinguishing between necessary and unnecessary ones, and managing them effectively, we can achieve contentment and inner peace. By choosing not to care about societal expectations or the fear of death, we free ourselves from unnecessary worries and anxieties, paving the way for true joy and tranquility. Through Epicureanism, we learn that happiness comes not from external possessions or status, but from an inner state of peace, free from pain and turmoil. This philosophy teaches us to appreciate the simple pleasures of life, friendship, thought, and freedom from fear and desire, offering a valuable perspective on the art of not caring. The Epicurean way of life invites us to reassess our values and desires, let go of societal expectations and unnecessary worries, and embrace the simple, enduring pleasures of life. As we continue our journey, let's keep in mind what we've learned from Epicurus. We should value the role of pleasure and desire in our lives, but focus less on things that don't bring us long-term happiness. Moving forward in our exploration of the art of not caring, we now travel to 19th century Denmark to meet Søren Kierkegaard, often considered the father of existentialism. Kierkegaard lived in a different time and cultural setting compared to the philosophers we've talked about so far. Kierkegaard's philosophy is centered on the individual, our emotions, freedom, choices, and personal experiences. He believed that truth varies from person to person, and that everyone must handle life's complexities on their own. His writings delve into human psychology, discussing themes like anxiety, despair, and the search for meaning. One of Kierkegaard's key ideas is the leap of faith, which is about confronting life's uncertainties and contradictions. He argued that to find purpose and beat despair, one must have the courage to leap into faith, often associated with religion. However, this concept also applies more broadly to accepting life's uncertainties and having the courage to make decisions without knowing the outcomes. Much of our daily stress and anxiety come from uncertainty. We worry about the future and feel overwhelmed by unpredictability, making it hard to decide when outcomes are unclear. But what if we decide not to worry about this uncertainty? What if we embrace it and make choices boldly and confidently? Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." This insight is especially relevant to our discussion about not worrying too much about the future. While we can learn from our past to gain wisdom, we can't foresee or control what's yet to come. Not fretting about future uncertainties doesn't mean being careless or indifferent to what happens next. Rather, it's about releasing ourselves from the intense fear of the unknown. This allows us to live more in the present and act according to our values and beliefs. By adopting Kierkegaard's approach of a leap of faith, we can find greater happiness by freeing ourselves from anxiety and fear. When we stop being overly concerned with uncertainties, we can channel our energy into the present moment and actions that reflect our true values. This grants us the liberty to lead an authentic life, one where we're not constantly bogged down by what might happen tomorrow. Kierkegaard's existential philosophy encourages us to deeply contemplate our individual existence, our anxieties, and our freedom. His idea of the leap of faith offers a way to handle life's uncertainties, not by trying to predict or control what comes next, but by courageously accepting these uncertainties and focusing on our genuine selves. Let's courageously dive into life's uncertainties, caring less about what we can't control and more about living genuinely and fully in the now. From the vibrant settings of 19th century Denmark, our philosophical journey now shifts to ancient India, where Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, introduced a transformative philosophy and path to spiritual enlightenment: Buddhism. Unlike many Western philosophies that equate happiness with pleasure or desire fulfillment, Buddhism sees true happiness as a lasting state of well-being that comes from inner peace and wisdom, independent of external conditions. This type of happiness is accessible through mindfulness, ethical living, and understanding the nature of reality. Central to Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths, which explain the nature of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path to ending it. The Buddha taught that suffering stems from tanha, or craving, a relentless desire for more than what is, driven by our misunderstanding of reality's transient and unsatisfactory nature. In Buddhism, the principles of detachment and non-attachment are crucial to grasping the art of not caring. Detachment here doesn't mean avoiding life's experiences. It means understanding and accepting the impermanent nature of all things and not clinging to people, objects, experiences, or even ideas, knowing they are bound to change and end. Non-attachment is a state of freedom from the urgent need to cling to things, experiences, or ideas. When we embrace non-attachment, we fully engage with life as it happens, experiencing joy, sadness, pleasure, and pain without being dominated by these fleeting emotions. This practice teaches us to care deeply about life without being restricted by it. By not being overly concerned with impermanent things, we are not dismissing or diminishing their value. Rather, we are learning to interact with them in a healthier way, fully appreciating and enjoying them while they last, but not suffering when they inevitably change or disappear. This approach to life can lead to profound inner peace and happiness. It enables us to appreciate the beauty of life's ever-changing nature without being overwhelmed by the turbulence of craving, aversion, or confusion. The Buddha famously said, "You only lose what you cling to." This simple but deep statement captures the essence of Buddhist detachment and non-attachment. It encourages us to let go, to stop worrying excessively about things that are inherently fleeting and elusive. By doing so, we free ourselves from much of the suffering we cause ourselves and open the door to a more profound, enduring form of happiness. With its deep insights into the nature of reality and the human mind, Buddhism provides valuable guidance on the art of not caring. By understanding and practicing the principles of detachment and non-attachment, we can learn to navigate life with greater peace, clarity, and freedom. As we continue our exploration, let us keep in mind the Buddha's wisdom that everything is subject to change, and by not holding on to transient things, we can achieve a state of inner peace and lasting happiness. This is, after all, what we are all ultimately striving for. Our philosophical journey now takes us back to Europe, specifically to Germany in the late 19th century, where we encounter one of the most influential and provocative philosophers, Friedrich Nietzsche. Known for his critical views on traditional morality and his philosophy of life affirmation, Nietzsche offers us a compelling perspective on the art of not caring. At the core of Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of life affirmation, which he considered the highest state of being human. To affirm life, according to Nietzsche, is to embrace existence in all its contradictions, uncertainties, and challenges. It involves saying yes to life, not passively or with resignation, but with joy, curiosity, and creativity. This philosophy is closely linked to Nietzsche's thoughts on societal norms and the art of not caring. He argued that societal norms and traditional moral values often restrict individuals from living fully and authentically. Nietzsche criticized what he called herd morality, the idea that good and bad are universally applicable to everyone. For him, not caring about societal norms and traditional morality is not about becoming indifferent or apathetic. Instead, it's about self-overcoming. This process allows individuals to transcend their conditioned behaviors and beliefs to create their own values. When we stop caring about societal expectations, we can begin to question, critique, and eventually transcend these imposed values. This process empowers us to define our own moral code, determining what is meaningful, worthwhile, and fulfilling for ourselves. In this context, we meet Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, often translated as the overman or superman. The Übermensch represents Nietzsche's ideal individual who has risen above conventional human concerns and has created personal values, affirming life in all its complexity. The Übermensch embodies the principle of not caring about conventional morality and instead chooses to embrace life with all its chaos and uncertainty, creating their own moral framework. Nietzsche's words in "Thus Spoke Zarathustra" underscore this idea. I teach you the overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? These words challenge us to question, strive, and create, reminding us of our potential for self-overcoming. Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to rethink our approach to life, urging us to embrace our capacity for personal growth and the creation of our own values, free from societal constraints. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to reconsider our relationship with societal norms and traditional morality. It urges us not to let these external expectations suppress our individuality, but rather to forge our own values and embrace life as it truly is. As we progress in our exploration, let's keep Nietzsche's powerful concepts in mind. Let's aim for self-overcoming, dare to establish our own values, and learn to accept life in all its complexity. As our philosophical journey continues, we now find ourselves in the 20th century, a world reeling from the impacts of 2 world wars, a world where existentialism took shape. This philosophical movement, building on the ideas of Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche, gained prominence with philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Existentialism rejects traditional philosophical categories and focuses on the individual, confronting issues like anxiety, freedom, authenticity, and the absurdity of existence. At the core of existentialism is the principle that individual existence is paramount. As Sartre famously stated, existence precedes essence, which means we first exist, and through our actions, choices, and experiences, we define who we are. This view empowers us to shape our identities, although it also places the burden of our lives entirely in our own hands, making us the architects of our destinies. Linked closely to this focus on personal freedom is the existentialist perspective on life's inherent absurdity, as discussed by Albert Camus. According to Camus, life lacks inherent meaning, purpose, or order. It is fundamentally absurd. This realization might lead to despair, or it could free us. By accepting life's absurdity and not worrying about it, we liberate ourselves from the pointless quest for external meaning or validation. Instead, we can concentrate on forging our own meaning and carving our own paths despite the absurd. This idea is vividly illustrated in Camus' myth of Sisyphus, where Sisyphus, condemned to eternally roll a boulder uphill only for it to roll back down, represents the human struggle against life's absurdity. Camus suggests that we should imagine Sisyphus as happy. By not caring about the futility of his task, Sisyphus can find joy and meaning in the effort and perseverance itself. So, what can existentialist philosophers like Sartre and Camus offer us in our exploration? They remind us that we are free to choose, to act, and to shape our own essence. They teach us that life is inherently absurd, and by not focusing on this absurdity, we can free ourselves from the need for external validation and instead create our own meanings. They encourage us to embrace our freedom, take responsibility for our lives, and forge our own paths despite life's inherent absurdity. As we've traveled through the diverse landscape of philosophy, from Stoicism to Buddhism, and from Nietzsche to Sartre and Camus, we've explored deep theoretical aspects of the art of not caring. Now let's consider how we can apply this wisdom practically in our everyday lives. What steps can we take to embody these philosophical insights? First, we need to determine what truly matters to us. Reflect on the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control. Differentiate between what you can control and what you can't in your life. The focus should be on what we can influence, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and learn to release our grip on things outside our control. This simple distinction can significantly reduce unnecessary stress and anxiety, making room for more joy, freedom, and fulfillment. Secondly, embrace uncertainty. As Kierkegaard pointed out, life is full of uncertainties, and trying to control or predict everything is not just impossible, but also a source of dissatisfaction. By accepting uncertainty and taking that leap of faith, we liberate ourselves from the fear and anxiety tied to the unknown. We begin to view uncertainty as a chance for growth and transformation. The third step is to confront societal expectations. As we've learned from Epicurus, Nietzsche, and the existentialists, societal norms and expectations can often restrict our authenticity and happiness. Reflect on these pressures in your life. Do they align with your values and desires, or are they suppressing your true self? Choosing not to focus on these societal expectations doesn't mean you ignore your responsibilities or become apathetic. Rather, it's about reclaiming your freedom to choose your own path, define your values, and shape your essence. The fourth step encourages us to accept the inherent absurdity of life. Drawing on Camus's insights, we can recognize life's absurdity and embrace it instead of searching for external meaning or validation. Focus on creating your own meaning through your relationships, passions, work, or personal growth. Find joy in the journey, in your own Sisyphean struggle. Implementing these steps is not without its challenges. It is a lifelong journey that requires patience, courage, and self-compassion. There might be moments of doubt, fear, or confusion. Remember, it's normal to feel these emotions. They are part of the human experience. Instead of resisting them, acknowledge them, learn from them, and let them guide you on your path. You might be wondering how you can start putting these ideas into practice right now. Mindfulness can be a powerful tool in this journey. Mindfulness involves being fully present, paying attention to the here and now without judgment. It allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they are without getting swept up in them. Try this simple mindfulness exercise. Take a few moments each day to sit in silence. Focus on your breath and the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. If your mind begins to wander, gently guide it back to your breath. This practice can help you develop a sense of presence, acceptance, and non-attachment, key elements in the art of not caring. Remember, not caring isn't about indifference or neglect. It's about discerning what truly matters, embracing life with all its uncertainties and absurdities, and creating our essence in the face of societal expectations. It's a journey, not a destination. This path requires courage, self-compassion, and a readiness to embrace the entirety of our human experience. As we reach the end of this exploration of the art of not caring, it's a good moment to pause, reflect, and perhaps prepare for what comes next. We've embarked on a fascinating journey through time, from the Stoic sages of ancient Rome to the existentialist thinkers of the 20th century, examining how these philosophical schools have approached the concept of not caring. We've learned about the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control, discovering that the path to tranquility and happiness lies in distinguishing what we can control from what we can't, and focusing our care and energy on the former. We've explored Epicurean philosophy, gaining insights from Epicurus's teachings on pleasure, desire, and the importance of not caring about societal expectations. We took a leap of faith with Kierkegaard, embracing life's inherent uncertainties and learning how not caring about certain outcomes can lead to a happier life. We delved into Eastern philosophy, seeing how Buddhism's principles of detachment and non-attachment can help us let go of impermanent things, leading to inner peace and happiness. Nietzsche challenged us to question societal norms, and through his life-affirming philosophy, he taught us about the power of not caring about conforming to these norms on our journey towards self-overcoming. The existentialist philosophers, particularly Sartre and Camus, emphasized the absurdity of life and encouraged us to take responsibility for our own existence, reiterating how not caring about this inherent absurdity can lead to personal freedom. In the final section, we discussed how to apply these philosophical principles in daily life. We examined ways to identify what truly matters to us, how to embrace uncertainty, confront societal expectations, and sit with the absurdity of life. We also covered some potential challenges along the way and discussed a simple mindfulness technique to cultivate presence, acceptance, and non-attachment. However, this exploration is merely the beginning of your journey. The art of not caring is not a destination, but a lifelong practice, a path to follow. It requires patience, courage, and self-compassion. As you continue your exploration, remember to apply these philosophical insights to your own life, to discern what truly matters to you, and to not care about what doesn't serve your highest good in the grand scheme of life. It's the lessons we learn, the insights we gain, and the people we touch that matter the most. So, go forth and explore the art of not caring in your life, see what shifts it brings, what freedom it offers, and what happiness it leads to. Remember, the journey towards not caring isn't about becoming indifferent or neglectful. It's about embracing your authenticity, reclaiming your freedom, and carving your path. It's about creating your essence in the face of societal expectations, uncertainties, and the inherent absurdity of life. We've reached the end of our discussion, and I hope these insights have been helpful to you. Remember, you're an important part of this channel and community. If this video has helped you reflect, learn something new, or simply resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up so more people can benefit from Stoic wisdom. And if you haven't yet, check out our ebook on Stoicism and how to apply it in your life. Subscribe for a daily dose of Stoic wisdom and a more fulfilling life.